Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose from Zencuda. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are in the soul space Monday night at 7 o'clock. I am beyond excited because we got big doings going on here at the studio, but I can't talk about it yet because it is top secret. Probably going to have a great rollout for you guys soon. So we're having a little bit of trouble with the Facebook feeds. Last week we had the same thing, even though I want to thank you guys. The views for the show are really going through the roof. But if you can't find us on the Facebook site or you're having some problems with that, just go right over to Strong Island on YouTube and you'll see me live there. I'm always streamed live on YouTube as well as Facebook. And we just shared that to my page. So if you hop over to Zencuda or Georgia Rose, you're going to see that link. I am going to make sure that I share it everywhere. And if you guys get that link on our Facebook page, definitely share it because that's going to be the link where you're going to see the show. Okay? Sorry about that. Facebook has been giving us a little bit of trouble, but we got the YouTube link on, so you can watch there, and I'm going to keep sharing that. Copy this link. I've been having a lot of glitches, things happen, and I think it's Jupiter in Gemini. It'll be there for a while, and went in a couple of months ago, and ever since then, I noticed that everything I do, I have to do twice. Yes, twice. And that's Jupiter in Gemini. So if any of you are wondering about that, that's what it's about. So want to talk tonight about autumn. Happy autumn. We just had the first day of fall in our hemisphere here yesterday. And I have to tell you, the end of September is going out in a really powerful way. And autumn is coming in a really powerful way. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I am also going to pull some tarot cards for you all. So we'll be doing that also in the soul space. So I don't know if whenever we have seasons that change signs, whatever the astrology is as that at that moment, like if it's the first day of summer or the first day of fall or the first day of winter, whatever the astrology is in that moment is usually going to carry over into the themes of that whole season. And so now we have the sun going into Libra. That is our autumn season, our fall season. And so Libra is going to carry the season, even though the sun will eventually go into Sagittarius and Scorpio and Sagittarius. The ignition point of the season is what we really look at as astrologers to set the themes for the time that we have in the season. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight because what's happening is the Earth that we live in is being shifted from Earth energy because, we had the sun in Virgo, we have now Pluto in Capricorn, we've had Uranus in Taurus, a lot of Earth energy, all right? And now Earth is going to air. We've got the sun going into Libra from Virgo, which is earth to air. Capricorn, even though it's still retrograde, Pluto, even though it's still retrograde in Capricorn, is headed for Aquarius, which is air. And next spring, Uranus is going to head into an air sign, Gemini, as well. So we've got a lot of planets that are recreating that airy feeling. And what this means is that this season, especially the way that September ends and October begins, is really a glimpse into our future of what the next few months are actually going to bring us, the end of this year and into 2025, when we really have all that airy energy. So with Libra and Aquarius being really the energy right now that we're feeling as Pluto's going towards that Libran energy. Pluto, I keep misspeaking tonight. I'm sorry. It's just the energy. As Pluto keeps going towards Aquarius, and now we have the sun in Libra, it really does make things seem lighter in a certain way. Things will still seem very heavy and very dramatic. I'm going to go into that energy in a moment, more of the real present energy. But over the long term, this energy is really going to be very inspirational for us in a very deep way. Pluto is still very active in the zodiac, and Pluto is still ruling the show right now. It's finishing up its 15-year orbit in Capricorn. And in doing that, it's bringing up a lot of very deep things for us. And in those depths, there can be a lot of healing, but there can also be a lot of expression of anger, especially later this month when the moon goes into Cancer. So we've got a lot of balancing. This is really the balancing act of autumn, is when earth energy turns into air energy and a lot of the planets start to shift. We've got Venus going into Scorpio, which really changes the energy of our desires and the things that are really meaningful and that matter to us. And so when the sun enters Libra especially, we find ourselves in the heart of things. We find ourselves thinking about how we relate to things. Libra is all about relationship. And so that's going to bring us into a place with this Pluto energy in a culmination kind of a point. It's going to bring us into a place where a lot of very deep things come in to our hearts, to our soul. We can really feel them in the body. And they're going to come up and find a releasing point. And especially as this month closes, we have some trines to the planet the asteroid Chiron, which is really about where our wounds are and healing them and being resilient enough to find the resolutions of those wounds. And so right now we're having some really deep times. We're really feeling things. We've got a real case of the feels. We're going back, maybe thinking about our past. And that energy is going to get more intense as our energy goes more and more into this Plutonian type of depth of our soul. Pluto is the soul in evolutionary astrology. And so Libra is also a cardinal sign. It starts something. The 4 seasons start with 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac. And so Libra is a cardinal sign in air. So what that does is it makes us very mental. It makes us very in our heads. It makes us very thought-provoking. It makes us want to think of balanced thoughts, fair thoughts. But at the same time, because Pluto's there, it's going to make us go back into the past, Pluto being retrograde, thinking about what was our soul's intention in certain times and how could we have done things different? How could we have related to things different, that Libran energy? And as far as air goes, what could we have communicated differently? Air is our communication. So when we put all these things together that I'm discussing now, what we have is the beginning of a new cycle with soul's intention, soul's desire, a new cycle of the way we can bring healing to the very deep things in our life, to do things in a different way. And most of all, we have a cycle coming in now this season of deep communication. And at certain times, I'm going to go over the dates left in this particular month, but at certain times, we're going to feel like we have an urgency to speak and we have an urgency to express ourselves from places that are very deep within us. And as these days progress and September wraps up and we go into October, we're going to find that those deep conversations can be had and that some of the things that were always very difficult to talk about suddenly become maybe a little bit easier to talk about in this energy, as long as we do it with love and compassion. Because what often happens is we express in a more aggressive way, right? And we express things that are deeply hidden or deeply inside of us, wounds that we've had, and we'll come off and we'll express them with blame, trying to alleviate our own shame in doing so. And when we do that, we forget to have compassion for ourselves. We forget to have compassion for situations that maybe we didn't control. And we forget to have compassion for the other who maybe hasn't learned certain lessons yet. And that's really how we're tying up this month, but it's not so simple because some of the energy coming in can really be very aggressive and very dynamic. So I'm going to talk about that. This is also a time of great karmic balance, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that in a few moments. But when I speak of karmic balance, what we're talking about here is, it's my belief through evolutionary astrology that we have karma in our lifetimes, and if we don't resolve certain karma and we don't grow and evolve through certain karmic situations, details, environments, relationships, that we will bring them in our next lifetime, and we'll pick them up from the point to which we experience them in this lifetime. And that's the growth of the soul. So when we have an energy like this in particular, because of the planetary positions, and I'll give you details in a few moments again, when we have energy like this, we have a fabulous opportunity to correct karma, to resolve karma, and also because Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a deep traditional archetype of ancestral karma, ancestral wounds, ancestral psychology, psychological cycles. And so in an energy like this, we have opportunities to heal generational karma, generational trauma, and we have a really beautiful opportunity to not just heal ourselves, but heal our lineage back and also for the future, which means that we have an opportunity to heal things, learn to do things in a different way, so that we're leaving behind old karma, starting new phases, pioneering into new phases when Pluto goes into Aquarius in December. And we now resolve things that when our pickup point for the soul in the next lifetime occurs, we won't have the same traumas. And some of the trauma that we're in now has been with us through many, many lifetimes. Traumas of persecution, abandonment. There's a very large population right now that was born with Pluto in Virgo. And this is all about bringing wounds of persecution and transforming them and transcending from those. And so we're in this generational consensus, this communal energy of really being able to change those dynamics. This is an energy that can inspire movement and also bring communication in very new ways and new forms. It's a cosmic dance between the earth and the air signs. It's a cosmic dance between the old and the new. It's a cosmic dance between Capricorn and tradition and structure and belief systems that are entrenched in the patriarchal establishment, and bringing them forward of what works into a new day, a new dawn, new pioneers, and new parameters in our own microcosms. So it's not just about the macrocosm and changing the patriarchal and getting in touch with our feminine energy and correcting and healing the male energy also. It's also about in our own little microcosms, in our own little corners of the world, in the corners of our soul space, what do we need to change karmically, behaviors, environments, communication, in order to bring us into a different balance of earth and air, male, female energy. And we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. And I've been working on balancing that quite a bit because I've really been thinking a lot. These retrogrades have brought in a lot of the past for me with relationships. And I've been thinking a lot about my roles in relationships and the roles that I attract in others. Friendships, family, romantic relationships, lifelong partnerships, all kinds of things. And one of the ways this energy is playing out for me now is to give me an awareness of that balance between masculine and feminine. And I realized that I have, because of certain traumas in my own life, I grew up where, even though my parents were present in physical form, they were not present in any other form. They did not nurture us emotionally, really, or really, give us a very strong structure of survival as far as that being healthy. So when children grow up like that and they don't have a nurturing environment where they're mirrored, when a child is speaking to a parent and they look at them and they're present and they respond in a certain way, it gives a child confidence and an understanding of how relationship works. But when you're not mirrored as a child, you're ignored or you're stifled or you're very harshly structured or disciplined, you lose that mirroring. And as a result of that, you grow up and you form a survival mechanism where you're always teetering and never really sure where the stabilization comes from. You need that dynamic from other, but it doesn't come because you don't really understand that you've ever been validated with an actual mirroring or an actual understanding. And so that comes into us for many of us that didn't get that one-on-one connection when we were children. And so what will happen is in adulthood, we play the self-critical tape in the head. You're doing a class for something, or you're having a conversation with someone, or you need to do a presentation at work, or maybe you're a school teacher, or maybe you're with your own children. And in the back of your mind, you're running this tape about, well, what are they really thinking about me? I can't read this person. Like, what are they really thinking? Am I talking too much? Or, do they think I'm stupid? Or do they think I'm really smart? Or you're constantly in this place of teetering. Like, what are people thinking of me? What's going on? How does this look? Because you've never had the validation of what that give and take and that back and forth is. And Libra energy, which begins the autumn season and is where the sun is now, and we are going to have a lot of planets in Libra this month, that is all about configuring yourself through the other, but then back to the self. So when we have conversation, communication, which is this energy is all about as well, and we have that connection of communication with another, you have a back and forth, right? It's like a tennis match. You speak, they respond, you know where you're both at in the conversation, you're connecting, you're reading each other, you're feeling simpatico. But when you don't grow up with that on a regular basis, it translates into life as never really understanding the connection and always wondering what it really is and what it's really about. And so the way that's played out specifically for me, and I relay this story because maybe you'll have had similar experience or maybe this will awaken something in you. I'm just trying to be a little inspirational for you guys here. Um, the way that played out in me was I became extremely in touch with my masculine energy and my energy of cardinal energy and my energy of starting things and taking responsibility for my life and being soul supporting and being very strong in my own survivalship. And that's good. I'm a very strong, successful person. But what it did for me was I never was comfortable in the feminine enough to be led. And I think that's my responsibility in a relationship. And not that I'm, a hard butt and like don't listen to people or I'm extremely controlling. No, maybe when I was younger I was a little bit more like that. But now I'm very easygoing that way. I'm not someone who has to lead the room or be in the front of the room. I'm fine wherever I am. But it still comes out in relationship because there's an innate fear of giving someone control, an innate fear of giving someone the reins. And that will play out in different ways in our lives. But the thing is, there are times in our life when we have to relinquish, we have to surrender. And I'm not just talking about women, I'm talking about men and women and the feminine side of all of us. We all have a masculine side and a feminine side. And so this time of year is a great time to balance that and work on those energies. Um, I just went out and bought myself a Shiva stone to work with that. Because I think in relationship, there are times when men need to be feminine, women need to be masculine, women need to be feminine, and men need to be masculine. So I think that there are times when we all have to kind of interlock and be interdependent, and that's what Libra energy teaches us. That's what the autumn teaches us. And the themes of harvesting, where we, take what is good and nourishing and we leave the rest in the field to become compost. Venus and Scorpio, which is where it's headed. So this is a time when we need to balance masculine and feminine enough so that we can have healthy relationships. And it doesn't mean you become so feminine that you're led or easily led and you're walked on. No, it means that you have trust for someone, right? The feminine trust, right? We don't just nurture on the feminine side of ourselves, but we also have to trust something. We have to trust something that's strong enough to be worthy of our faith, whether that is a human being, a situation, an environment, or the universe. It's in our soul space to be able to have faith and trust. But if we never allow ourselves to go into the feminine aspect of that and be led every once in a while, right? We can't always drive the car. Sometimes we need to be a passenger. Because if we were all always driving the car, then there would be no passengers. So that's kind of how I realized this energy came up for me. And it came up during really thinking about the change of season and the equinox and the day when the light and dark is equally balanced and equally balancing that feminine and masculine energy. So it was a really beautiful awareness for me and something I'm going to be working on in my life. And I think that also it comes out in our communication. Many times when we are very direct and we are very in control of our lives and we want to be in control, we want to be the driver, sometimes we dismiss or disregard or don't listen to others when we need to be led. So that's something that I'm going to really watch out for this season and try and really make sure that I'm balancing my masculine and feminine. And this goes for you guys out there too. If you're a real controlling guy and you always have to be dominant, you need to get in touch with your feminine side. And you have one because, as I said, if everybody always is driving the car 100% of the time, then no one ever gets to be a passenger. And there are some really great things about being the passenger. For a little while, you get to rest your mind, you get to rest your head, you get to recharge your batteries. Everyone wants to be nurtured. But if we're always in a dominant role, we can't nurture each other. And so if we're all always driving the car, no one gets nurtured. And that's the family I grew up in. And that's why I, in my life, had these issues with handing somebody the steering wheel. Because for me, it was, didn't feel right. It felt dangerous. It felt like, oh, well, I don't want to do that because I've been taught that if you do that, something's not going to go right. You better take care of it yourself. Right? And even at the ripe old age that I am, I'm still working on this issue because it's so deeply ingrained. And what it does is it prevents intimacy. Because intimacy can only come when the masculine and feminine are balanced. You both have to, in a relationship, have both. And that's what Libra teaches us. And the sun in Libra is a beautiful time to learn, especially when we have Mercury headed there. Mercury and the sun are going to join together with the nodes of the moon, the south node that happens around the lunar eclipse on the 2nd of October. And that's when this all comes together. The balance of the masculine and feminine, the relationship that we have with everyone and everything in the world, our relatability, right? And we need to be balanced in ourselves, Libran energy, in order to bring that balance out into the world to have relationship. If we think a relationship is based on dominance, it's never going to work because it's not balanced. It's not relatable. If we think a relationship means that I'm always going to be led and that you're out there, just waiting for someone to rescue you all the time and lead you to the promised land, well, that's not going to work either because you're not balanced. Right? You need some masculine energy in order to direct you from within, right? So we have to learn to direct ourselves when it's appropriate, and we have to learn to nurture ourselves when it's appropriate, and then give that to a partner. And so that's really what the autumn equinox and the fall and moving from earth energy, that dense energy, into air and bringing it out in our communications and bringing it out in a place of maybe something's uncomfortable and I'm in this loop, I'm in this circle, and I don't feel any gratification from it. Oh, maybe I have to have a hard conversation. Maybe I have to think about where do I need to do something different, bring up some awareness from the depths of my soul, Pluto in Capricorn, moving towards Aquarius, a new way to do it. So we bring up the old thing, right? My old pattern, my old childhood of never being mirrored. I can remember, trying to talk to my mother, even very young, playing on the floor in the kitchen while she's getting dinner ready and trying to talk to her and show her something. And she would never turn around, and I'm sure we've all had experiences like that. And so when you grow up that way and you don't have that reassurance of someone's relating with you, they're a mirror, they're mirroring what you say. Oh, honey, that looks great. Oh, I'm so excited for you. I just had a beautiful experience when I came into the studio tonight because there's some new things happening and I was so excited for Bobby. And, there was a moment where we both just hugged and we were just so happy and smiling and the elation was there and the energy in the room rose. That's relationship. That's connection. And so if we're not taught that, we have to learn it later in life. And there's no excuse for not teaching ourselves and finding others to teach us that and being able to go into a space with another and be able to balance ourselves to bring balance to that and know that it's okay to be vulnerable with someone. And in those deep connections, that's where we really find love. And so that's really what this season is about. And on an even bigger scale, it's about the world changing to be that. And so the negative part, the deep part of that energy for a lot of people is Mars in Cancer, where it will be for a long time, almost like 6 months or more, is expression. It's our emotions. And people who have fear of vulnerability, of being feminine when they're very dominating or being masculine when they're very mutable, if they have fear in balancing those energies, then it's going to come up as more trauma. It's going to come up as anger. It's going to come up as a dynamic that's not healthy in some way. And you'll see that happening all over the world. I can guarantee you in this energy of navigating earth to air and with some of the squares and some of the things that we have going on, I can guarantee you that the politics are going to get really deep and really down and really dirty because that's Pluto dragging it all up so we can heal it. And it's up to us as individuals to be responsible enough to do that. So on this autumn equinox, which was the 22nd, which was yesterday, we had Venus going into Scorpio, squaring Pluto. That's what's bringing up this uncomfortable, like, I don't really want to go there, but I have to go there. I have to do deep shadow work. I have to go to those places that I really don't want to look at, because if I don't, I'm never going to heal them, and this is going to be my life forever. So we've got to really not be afraid and, take the corkscrew and get it on up and bring it out and think about, how can I communicate this to someone so that I can deal with this grief in a way that's healthy instead of just leaving it sitting in my body? How can I grieve the things that happened to me with someone who's going to be there and look in my face, look in my eyes and say, I'm really sorry this happened to you. How can we make the experience different? This is a release point, and we're going to be in this energy for a while. And you're going to see this happen in the world, especially Tuesday, the 24th. This is a very dynamic day for communication. Tuesday is going to be the day when a lot of things become communicated. It'll probably be a very busy news cycle that day and into Wednesday. This is when we're beginning a very deep time of the year. 2024 ends, and this month especially ends, with a very pronounced impact on the world and on our own personal lives. This is about, especially on Tuesday, this is info that can be shocking, but it doesn't have to be bad shocking. It can be good shocking to, kind of get us off our butts to heal something or deal with something instead of just keep sweeping it under the rug. Some of this can be expressed in anger, but it will heal because we have trines to Chiron coming in later on in the month. This is also, we have Saturn, Pluto, Mars, Uranus, all in a configuration where politics will heat up, words are going to be spoken in that release point. It's going to be a very incredibly dynamic energy. And it can also be, for those of us manifesting good things, it can also be a day when incredible things happen for the better. So it can go either way, of course. But on the 26th, which is Thursday, Mercury comes into Libra. The Sun and Mercury go into Libra, and they're going to be exact with the nodes at 10 degrees, where we had a different aspect not too much before, which was with Pluto. So that is very karmic. That's an energy when we have the Sun and Mercury together in what we call Cazimi. That is an energy of karma. That's an energy where things will repeat, things from the past come up. It will also be a release point. So when that, things come up and that energy will stay with us for a little while, it's very profound and dynamic. That's going to be something happening. It's going to be impulsive. It's going to be an expression. This is the 24th, 25th, 26th. The moon's going to be in Leo on the 26th, so that's really going to want to express. But it's deep truths. It can be conflicts, but conflicts are not bad. Conflict is how we resolve things. If we don't have conflicts, there can be no resolution. So this, can really be a conflict that's heartfelt, but resolution comes. This is about what needs to happen or needs to be said. It just has to be. On Friday, we have Venus doing a square and a half to Jupiter. This is a risk of being overconfident, overindulgence. And good news can seem better than it really is. So be a little tempered on Friday. Mars and Saturn want to make things very real. This is an energy that also comes back around on the 26th of January, 2025. So, be aware of what's going on this week. It's a very, very dynamic week. On the 28th, which is Saturday, we have Leo. Finally, the moon is trining Chiron. This settles, and it sextiles Jupiter. It settles down a little bit as far as being volatile. Is a very good day to express what we feel. It's a very good day to have, some heart-to-heart energies. It's a very good day to say the things that would normally be very hard to say. They're going to be easier to say in this energy. Okay? And then that energy of the Sun, Mercury, all in the South Node in Libra, exacts on the 29th. It's building up to that October 2nd moon. This brings up the past and shows us how we can do things differently. Remember, I started out the beginning of this month. If you go back and listen to those videos, I said this month was all about reorganizing boundaries, and that's really what it's been about. And so now, as the month closes with a very dynamic energies, those boundaries are being reorganized. Just like I was just talking about the masculine and feminine energy of us, those boundaries are all being reorganized. Where do we need to be more feminine? Where do we need to be more masculine? Where do we need to be more nurturing, more dominant, more responsible, more softer, more, setting of boundaries? And how do we use communication in the best possible way to achieve those renegotiations of boundaries? So these are real turning points, they're inflection points um, that are really allowing us to glimpse the future. Because what's going on now is really quite a glimpse of what's to come in 2025. So keep a diary, keep a dream diary if you're dreaming a lot. We still have, a lot of Neptune and energy at the end of Pisces. Saturn is still in Pisces. Um, this energy will open old wounds, but what I want to say is that it does it for that conflict resolution. So let's get ourselves together. It's a great week to do some soul work, go really deep with yourself, and also make sure that you're having some of those conversations that, although in the past have been hard to have, somewhere around Friday and Saturday, they may be really great to have. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll be back here next weekend live on Monday night at 7. Thanks. Bye.